Hi, I'm Julia and this is my shed. So today I've sort of avoided it for long enough really. What we're going to do is take out the way shaft here. I've got a way shaft that was too small, so I'll probably keep that one and actually work on this one, but I need to remove it anyway to see how much clearance we've actually got. So what we're going to do is make some sort of cranked way shaft, and then hopefully that'll sort that problem out, and then I can actually fit the boiler. So let's start taking it to bits. Okay, so I've removed the way shaft now. As you can see, it's not there now. And we still have a problem with the boiler fitting. So this is sitting up where it should be. As you can see, hopefully you can see, basically the rear of the boiler is sitting too high. So if I bring you down to here, the ashpan bracket is in the way, so we've got a gap here that the front edge of the boiler can sit in. So I think I've seen this on one of the other builds. They had to bend this up. So what I'm going to do is take the ashpan out for now, just so I can see, just so I can get the boiler in the correct position, and we'll come back and modify this bracket later on. So it's a little bit difficult to see, but there's a blowdown bush at the bottom front of the firebox, and that's fouling on the frame stretcher. So what we need to do is take a small amount out of the frame stretcher so it fits. So we need to remove quite a lot of material from here. So what I'm going to do is use the angle grinder, and I've just sort of tried to cover up the chassis as best I can so that we're not showering everything with grinding dust. So I'm just going to smooth off, remove this corner really. I need to go in about 3 or 4 mil. So I've got a mark where we need to go, and I'll just try and remove that corner, and then we'll see how we get on. So after a trial fit, I've realised it's also touching on this stretcher. So I've just rubbed it backwards and forwards so I can see where I need to remove some more. So we'll take some out of that and carry on. So I've popped one bolt in to hold the smoke box in its right position because it was tilting under the weight of the boiler. So the boiler is sitting fairly flat now. I think this gap is pretty even. It's perhaps just a little bit bigger at the bottom. So there's not much overlap on this joint, so really the boiler needs to go further forwards. So the thing that's stopping it at the moment again is this stretcher. So you can see we're right up against that stretcher now, and to a lesser extent these brackets. So what I'll do is I'll get the grinder out again, and I'll chamfer those corners off a bit more and see what that looks like. So the I've done a bit more work. As you can see, this gap here is bigger than that gap there. So we still need the back of the boiler to go down somewhat. I've now got clearance at the rear here. So now we're touching, we're actually resting on the frames. So I need to just relieve the inside of the frames. But this is quite tiring work. I'm basically having to bench press this this spoiler every time I pick it up off the floor. It's just ridiculously heavy. So I can only do that so many times, then I need to have a break. But anyway, enough whinging. So yeah, we're just going to relieve the inside of the frames now at the top and see what happens then. Hopefully you can see it's actually rubbing on the frames now, so it's taken the paint off, so I can see exactly where I need to remove some height. So we'll try and take a few mil out of the inside of the frames and see how we get on. So hopefully you can see I've chamfered the inside of the rails, but actually left the outside just at the original profile for now. So if we can get away with that, that just means it looks correct from the outside, but we've just removed a bit of meat from the inside. It's looking quite messy at the moment, but I'll clean everything up with a Dremel once we've actually got the boiler fitting properly. I say we've still got plenty of clearance here, so yeah, we'll see how I'll try fitting it again, see how we get on. So we're still quite tight up against the frame, and we've still got quite a bit to go up the front here as well. So I'm now touching here again. Get my torch to work for more than 30 seconds, that'd be good. So again, we're touching on this side, so I need to take a bit more out there. But it's mainly the height at the moment, so I think I am going to have to take a bit off the top of the frames, just so we can drop it down a bit more. That's unfortunate, but I think we need to take a couple of mil off. So I mean, I don't think that's going to affect the look of the loco particularly. I think we're going to need to take a couple of mil off. You're not really going to be able to see that part of the frame, so I don't think it's going to make much difference. And obviously we need to get the boiler fitting. So what I've done now is I've just used the odd leg calipers just to scribe a line. So I've got something to work to. I've done it on both sides. So we'll just, I may not come all the way down to this line, but at least I've got a nice reference so I can get things nice and flat. So yeah, let's crack on. So I've been quite radical. I've taken quite a lot off this area where they were touching. As you can see, I've chamfered the insides as well. I wouldn't say I'm running out of patience, but I'm running out of strength. So I thought I'll just take most of it off. And that's got to get us quite close now, hopefully. So we're getting closer. And what I've discovered actually is that the boiler isn't really that symmetrical. The boiler barrel is a bit more towards the right hand side, this side, than the left. So although I've removed 2 mil from the frame, which you can't really see because it's a bit dark, I've removed 2 mil here, it's still touching. So on this, whereas the other side it's not touching at all. So I'm going to scribe another line with the odd leg calipers and take another 2 mil off this side. And I think we're going to be a lot closer then. So I'll do that and we'll come back and have another look. Okay, so I'm going to call it a day there. I've had to take a huge amount out the top of this chassis. I've even had to round off this piece as well. Taken quite a bit off this side. And huge amounts of this stretcher. We've done a bit of work here, not too much. We just dropped this edge of the chassis down a bit. And I've got to figure out what I'm doing with the ashpan. I'll probably have to mount the ashpan on the underside of here to get the clearance. But it is looking a lot better now, so I'm quite pleased with that. I'll put the boiler back on and you can see what it looks like. So the lighting's not great in here, but hopefully you can see that gap's fairly even now. It's still a bit tighter at the top. It's not far off now. We're not touching on the frames anymore. It's just about resting on the frames here at this front edge. So I need to sort out the brackets for the rear, but that's fitting a lot better now. So huge amount of work actually. I mean, you're probably looking on in horror when I got the angle grinder out, but I've been using it all day. I've had to remove a huge amount from the chassis to accommodate the boiler. But that's how it goes sometimes. So yeah, I'll leave that there. I've just got to do a little bit of titivation tomorrow, and then we'll get back onto the way shaft. I'm not sure if you can see now how low the boiler is, but it's something like halfway through where the weight shaft goes. So we're going to have to come up with something fairly radical, I think. But at least we can see what we need to do now. So having slept on it, I realised there was still quite a bit to remove. So here's a bit of time lapse, and you can see how many times I'm having to take the boiler off. And the boiler is really heavy. I'm really sort of struggling to lift it, and I'm just lifting it up and down off the floor, all for an hour or two, and my poor knees were really struggling by the end of it. So yeah, if you want to get fit, lift boilers. So this is the lowest I can get the boiler. So if you notice here, these brackets are not working. I'd have to modify these brackets. We are a bit close to the chassis, but not touching. But if you look at this, it's still wider here than at the top. So, but I can't go any lower. So that's option one. I think it looks better on this side, to be honest. So it does look a bit better on this side. I think that's because the boiler doesn't sit central. The way it's been made, it's not particularly great. So if you see here, we've got a big gap there on the right hand side, and a slightly smaller gap here on the left hand side. So ideally this should be matching up with this, for the rear to be central. So if I do that, you start to see problems at the front here, where this isn't. This is more because the smoke box is straight, but this isn't. The boiler isn't. So that's the first option. I can't move the boiler any lower in the chassis. It's just impossible. So what I'll do is I'll put these brackets at the back in their correct place and show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're now at the rear of the boiler. So I've put it back on its the brackets that are there. So you can see we're not touching the chassis here now. We're a little bit higher, so that gives us a bit more clearance there. But then this side looks a little bit odd. We've got an even bigger gap at the bottom now. Now I might be able to hide that with the cladding, so it might not be a problem. And obviously if we've got the correct brackets, you know, the boiler's going to expand backwards, so that's, you know, that's just going to work a bit better. So I think this is my preferred option, but any experienced model engineers or maybe anybody that's got mechanical background, let me know what you think. I don't really want to do any more with the angle grinder now. It sort of just seems wrong. I mean, as you can see, I've completely covered the workshop in grinding dust and the loco despite my best efforts. So it's all a bit of a mess. Yeah, so let me know what you think. I mean, I think where it is about as good as it's going to get, really. I've still got the problem of mounting the ashpan, although I might be able to mount it to the bottom of these brackets. That might help. I'm not sure yet. So anyway, if we go and look at the way shaft brackets, which is what we're trying to actually... So if we look at the way shaft brackets now, here's the view through the way shaft bracket. Hopefully you can see the far side hole and how much the boiler intrudes into the space where the way shaft should be. You know, nearly all the way through, and that's at the height in this higher point. So some serious engineering to be done there as well. So anyway, I'll be interested to hear your suggestions. Let me know what you think, and yeah, I think I'll leave that for now and move on to something else while I have a think about it. So yeah, let me know. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of what the way shaft problem is. It's quite difficult to film, but you can see that there is a boiler way shaft interface issue at the moment. So that's the next problem to solve. I'm not sure if I'll get a chance to do it in this video, but there we go. So if you remember from the previous shots, the bottom of the boiler at front edge sort of needs to be in this space where this is. We've also got problems with the ashpan hitting the rear trailing pony truck as well. So basically this right angle here actually needs to be in the opposite orientation. So I'm just going to give it a quick tap with the hammer to see if we can bend this down when these are bolted to the brackets. I'm not sure how strong these brackets are, so I'll be careful. But we're only actually bending this section initially, but we're probably going to have to unbend that bit as well. So, well, I'll just have a quick go with it on the loco, but I think what I'm going to have to do is dismantle this bottom sheet that wraps all the way around and put it on the bender. But let's just see what happens if I hit it with a hammer. So off camera, I've removed the base of the ashpan, which is quite fiddly because there's lots of nuts to hold in place. So what we need to do is get rid of this bend, so flatten it out again, and then if I show you from this side, instead of a bend going that way, we want it to go that way. So sort of change the direction really. So let's batter it with a hammer, shall we? That'll be satisfying. So I did invest in some cheap planishing hammers. They're not great, but I saved these for doing bodywork. So what you want is for them to be quite smooth. so they don't mark the sheet metal. It's not a beautiful job. This is stainless steel, so it's not massively ductile. I will try crushing this seam a bit in the vise just to see if that makes any difference. I don't think it will, but may as well give it a go. Might flatten it out a little bit. Just tighten that up as much as we can. Ooh, just can't undo it now. Do the same for the other side. It does seem to have improved things a little bit, not a lot. But down a bit actually. There we go. Whoop. Until I'm putting some force into this, everything's falling out the cupboard. Anyway, right, there we go. Let's have a look at that, shall we? Just do a bit more planishing. So I'm not quite sure how well that's worked. So we're starting to get this roughed out. It's looking like actually this could come a bit further forwards. The main issue at the moment is that the main issue at the moment is this drain valve is sat on the plate there. So if I remove that, the boiler will sit a bit lower down, and I think what that means is that these tabs can be a bit shorter, and I'll just need to re-drill the holes further down. So I'll look at doing that. I don't really want to rush into this. I mean, it will be a bit far back at the back, but you know, everything's a compromise at the moment. So that's where the mounting brackets are. Hopefully you can see that. So okay, I need to adjust that bit of stainless steel, and we'll carry on. So I've removed the boiler. Hopefully this is a bit easier for you to see now. So what I want is for this front edge to be as far forward as possible, and as you can see where we've had to put the cutout for that drain plug bush, obviously this is holding the bush up now, so we need to sort that out. So I'm just going to mark it roughly. An interesting fact, that drain bush actually isn't drilled through at the moment, so it is tapped but it's not drilled through. So I'm not sure, because of where it is now, I'm not sure of how useful that's going to be, so we may not be able to use that boiler drain or blow down bush. It looks like the previous owner didn't use it either, so we're probably just going to have to blow the boiler down from the back head. But anyway, I'll cut this notch out here, and then we'll put the boiler back on and see how it's looking. This is quite an awkward piece to hold in the vise, 'cause now it's bent up. But I've managed to sort of clamp it between these two pieces of metal. It's not great, but hopefully that will provide some support. We haven't got to do a lot of sawing, so I'll give that a go, see how we get on. I'll just change it around so this is at the back. I think that would be better. So there's a hierarchy of metal removal techniques. So sawing is in terms of speed and efficiency. So sawing's one of them. Drilling as well is another one that's right up there. But a technique you don't see very often is using a cold chisel. So sometimes you can sort of chain drill and then chisel afterwards. Oops. It helps if you hold the chisel in the right place. You have to be a bit careful because it's quite brutal. Does help if your chisel is sharp as well. Which I don't think this one is particularly. Yeah, going down a hole doesn't help. So hopefully that's weakened that up a little bit now. Let's have a look. Yes, there we go. So you get a reasonably clean cut. That'll clean up with a file quite quickly. But it's not a finessing type of technique, but this is an ashpan. You're not going to see it. It just needs to be functional, really. And just take the sharp edges off so we don't bleed all over the model. I tend to lose points for that in the competitions. But, yeah, so there we go. Got a nice notch there now. So we can go back to the chassis and carry on fitting this. So that's working pretty good now. We've got a cutout here for the blowdown bush. This is sitting very close to the bracket now. It's as low down as it possibly can be. Previous time I didn't have these in place, so I'm just going to pop these in place now and see how these look. We may have to remove a bit of these, but in fact I think we probably will have to move a bit of these, but I'll pop the boiler on because obviously I need the exercise. My poor knees are starting to suffer with lifting this boiler on and off. Anyway, I hope you appreciate my efforts. Okay, so hopefully you saw me scribe a line on here now. Take this off and show you. So there's a scribe line pretty much in line with the top with this edge actually. So what that means is these holes need to move that way quite a substantial amount. So I might see if I can drill those first. I think if I drill a complete new hole here, as a guess, it may or may not be correct, but that will be the basis of a slot, so we can do the final adjustment. Will give us some adjustability maybe. Okay, so I've got the holes elongated. What I'm going to do now is just bend these tabs on the line that I've marked. I've sort of checked the distance here and here is the same, so hopefully they'll come out equal. Just need to get it up to 90 degrees. That looks pretty good. Simple as that. So I'll extract this from the bending jig and we can try it on the chassis again. Probably going to have to take this top plate off completely. Yes. Okay. Easy. So yeah, there we go. A nice bend. Okay, so I'm pretty pleased with how that's going. I've had to adjust it a little bit with the hammer, and I've just pulled these, put a couple of screws in just to hold it in position, and I've got these brackets bolted back in again, and that's looks like we've got a decent bit of clearance here, which I was a bit worried about prior, but you can see now that the pony truck can move or articulate nicely. So I'll pop the boiler on and we'll perhaps see how that's doing. Feeling quite confident that we may be making some progress finally. Okay, so that's actually looking really good now. I'm very pleased with that. I just need to obviously bolt, or I might actually weld this together because the way it's bolted is not great. It'll be an excuse to get the TIG welder out. I think we're doing quite well there. So these channels they should fit down this low. So you can see this section of the chassis is in the way now. So I'm just gonna have to remove this or cut this top section and bend it upwards slightly. Mark these. Right, off to the bench and we'll get the hacksaw on it. So I've put a bit of metal in to stop this getting crushed, and all we need to do is just cut down here with the hacksaw. Okay, so that's got them fitting quite nicely now. I can actually get the bolt holes in. So I'm just going to try and make this flap fit a bit better around the chassis legs. May or may not work, I don't know. I think that's alright actually, that looks pretty good. So before this was nowhere near the holes, the mounting holes here, so it's all a lot better now. Just pop the grate in and make sure everything still fits. So hopefully we'll be okay. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Yeah, I think yeah, we might need to remove sort of the ends of the tabs actually, because they're interfering with this bar. So I think we'll just remove those completely. I don't think they're doing much because the bar provides as much protection as the tabs will. So yeah, we'll cut those off and that will do. Okay, so I've just folded these back for now, but I will actually remove them completely. That's now sitting much closer. So yeah, very pleased with that now. It's just suddenly come together. We should be able to get all the screws in. So probably what I'll do is hold this assembly together with the screws and then tack weld it in place, so we can dispense with the screws. We haven't got any captive nuts on this, so it's a little bit of a pain to bolt together. But yeah, so there you go. Bit of a result. I'll probably do the welding another day, but yeah, let me know what you think. I'd be always interested to hear your comments. So off camera, I've just shortened these two threaded bars a bit, just so it's a bit neater, and that's just brought this all into line a bit better as well. So it's looking really good now actually, really pleased with that. Got a very nice fit there, and yeah, I think that's as good as we're going to get that. So I'll bolt this up off camera. I think that's not going to be that exciting. I might weld it, I'm not 100% sure yet. But yeah, there it is. So I think that'll do. So we've got a bit of an angle here on the smoke box still, so I think I'm going to have to just raise the smoke box probably a 2 or 3 mil. It's going to make the join at the top a little bit tight, but I'm sure we can figure that out. I think if I just adjust the ashpan forward very slightly, that'll help with that as well. So all in all, not a bad job actually. I'm quite pleased with that. So I had hoped in this episode to do the way shaft adjustment, but that's not happened. Instead, we've spent quite a long time, nearly 3 days, trying to get the boiler to fit the chassis. So I'm pretty pleased with how it's turned out. It's come good in the end, but it's been quite a big effort. I wouldn't recommend using an angle grinder day to day in model engineering. It's not really a good fit, but sometimes you have to get a bit medieval on it. So which is a quote from Pulp Fiction, in case you were wondering. I know Stuart likes that. So yeah, let me know what you think. I'm always interested to hear your comments, even the rude ones. So like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.